Yesterday's segment about Donald Trump's interview with NBC's Kristen Welker really got me thinking. This guy just keeps confessing to crimes. He would be better off if he did not speak rather than saying anything. And it is indeed the case that Donald Trump continues to confess to many of the crimes for which he has been charged. Now, this isn't new in the sense that after indictment number, now I'm struggling. I believe it was after indictment number 2, but it might have been after number 1 or it might have been after number 3. I think it was after number 2. Trump went to, again, I think it was Bedminster, and he essentially confessed to the crimes for which he had been accused, saying, I had a right to have all that stuff, Presidential Records Act, etc. And we realized, oh, his actions actually are not governed by the Presidential Records Act. He was a former president at the time. He's essentially making a defense that is not a legal defense and confessing to the crime. Well, there's a whole bunch of different examples of this. And I'm going to remind you, yesterday, here is Trump. We played this yesterday with Kristen Welker saying the entire plot to overturn the 2020 election, everything that was done, strong-arming public officials, trying to set up fake slates of fake electors. He was directing all of it. He admitted it. This was yesterday from Sunday.
The election was rigged. There are books
were you
that
calling
are written.
The shots, though?
In fact, Molly Hemingway wrote a great book.
But were you
called
calling
Rigged.
the shots ultimately?
Excuse me. Molly Hemingway, who's highly respected and great, she wrote a book, a best-selling book called Rigged.
Were you calling the shots, though, Mr. President, ultimately?
As to whether or not I believed it was rigged, oh, sure.
Okay.
It was my decision, but I listened to some people. Some people said that. Like guys like Bill Barr, he was a stiff, but he wasn't there at the time. But he didn't do his job because he was afraid. You know what he was afraid of? He was afraid of being impeached. He was petrified to be impeached, and he...
All right. It was my decision. It was my decision. It was my decision. Now, whether that's the facts talking or Trump's ego, he seems to be confessing that it was all done at his direction. Here's another example from last week with Megyn Kelly's interview with Trump. And in this one, the topic was classified documents. And again, Trump insisting, I'm allowed to have the documents.
We have a deranged guy named Jack Smith who's been overturned at the Supreme Court a number of times. And he gets overturned. You know why he gets overturned? Because he goes too far. They don't even mention the Presidential Records Act. This is all about the Presidential Records Act. I'm allowed to have these documents. I'm allowed to take these documents, classified or not classified. And frankly, when I have them, they become unclassified. People think you have to go through a ritual. You don't. At least in my opinion, you.
Well, Trump's opinion, unfortunately, is not the law. And again, this is a confession of Trump having documents that had not been declassified, because we know that telepathic declassification is not a thing. And more seriously, we've heard from legal experts that the president taking a document does not declassify it. And we also know that Donald Trump is on an audio recording months after leaving the White House, showing documents to people in his home, saying, this is secret stuff, this is classified stuff. So he knew that he hadn't telepathically declassified the documents. So if, as I've said before, he keeps confessing to crimes, but if Trump's lawyers try these explanations as legal defenses, it is not going to go well with Donald Trump, for Donald Trump. When the special prosecutor and prosecutors in general present their cases to juries, they are going to explain to juries what the law is about classified documents. And when the judge gives the jury instructions, if it gets to that phase, we don't know that that's going to happen. But if we get to a jury verdict phase, the jury will be instructed about what the law is. And nowhere in the law does it say, never mind that a president or former president can telepathically declassify documents. It is also not part of the law that by simply absconding with documents, a president has de facto or automatically declassified them. I don't think that Trump, when he does these things on TV and just admits to crimes, I don't think Trump's necessarily oblivious to the fact that he is saying he did the things he's being accused of. It seems to me that this is a combination of Trump counting on becoming president again, acting as a pseudo-dictator, pardoning himself, or the vague idea that by becoming president again, Trump simply won't have to deal with this or deal with the consequences of it. In addition to, he always thinks he's the smartest person in the room. And this is why Trump's instincts are, sure, I'll testify under oath. Sure, I'll sit down with Mueller or whoever. And then his lawyers panic and try to convince him not to do it, so far successfully, because Trump thinks he's the smartest one in the room and he can convince whoever of his perspective. And so to some degree, Trump may understand he sort of is confessing to the crimes here, but he and his lawyers are so smart and so slick that once they get in front of a jury, they're going to convince the jury that what he did wasn't against the law. The hope, obviously, is that that is not the way it is going to go. He knows also to some degree that his fans like that he's a criminal. In their minds, in his mind, these aren't real crimes. These are political attacks from the left. And he put the mugshot on a t-shirt and the entire thing. But unfortunately, that doesn't matter in an actual court of law. So we'll see. I don't expect Trump to stop confessing to crimes in public between now and the start of his criminal trials. But at some point, there will hopefully be some kind of awakening about the fact that in a jury with a judge there reading what the actual law is to members of the jury, things go way differently than when you're trying to push around Kristen Welker or Megyn Kelly or whoever on NBC or Sirius XM radio or wherever the case may be. Many people know how hard it is to break bad habits, and sometimes you have to replace a bad habit with a better habit. And that is exactly what our sponsor Fume helps you do. Fume is not a vape. I don't advertise vape stuff. There's no nicotine. There's no electronics. Fume is a small cylindrical wooden device that just delivers plant-flavored air. It comes in a variety of flavors that people love: crisp mint, maple pepper, white cranberry. They've got new flavors: sparkling grapefruit, orange vanilla. Importantly, it just gives your hand something to do. It's a device that feels good in your hand or in your pocket. You can take it anywhere. And it satiates that hand-to-mouth fixation that, if you're trying to break a bad habit, can be very useful. It's also fun to fidget with, which is important too. It has an adjustable airflow dial, a magnetic end cap. It gives your fingers something to do even if it's in your pocket. Check out the reviews online. You'll see so many people have been skeptical at first about Fume. They try it and they are very pleasantly surprised. Go to tryfume.com and use the code PACMAN to save 10% when you get the Journey Pack, which comes with the device and several flavors to try. The link is down below.